Hello, and welcome to the Sovereign Collective podcast, where we bring you real, raw truth for your self-empowerment. I'm your host, Sasha Calavoda, and I believe that you can stand on your own 2 feet, but that you don't have to do it alone. I love learning from people who continually strive to raise the bar, to go against mainstream thinking, and who dare to question the general consensus. People who risk being ridiculed or even risk the loss of their professional status as they bravely question the common narratives and challenge the rest of us to expand our minds and to reconsider what we think we already know. Join me in learning how to take control of your health and your mind so that you can have the energy to think more clearly and the confidence to step up and take responsibility for all aspects of your life. We promise to never censor here because I believe you are strong enough to hear the real, raw truth to make up your own mind. If you like what you find here at the Sovereign Collective podcast, then please share with your friends and family. I so appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And now, on to the show. Welcome to episode 88 of the Sovereign Collective podcast. I'm so excited to finally get this interview out to you. It's an important one. I am talking with George Wiseman today, and we're talking all about Brown's gas. You may have heard about hydrogen gas, but have you heard about Brown's gas? It's hydrogen gas and more, and there's many ways to apply it into your life, and George is going to get all into it. It's interesting. This all started with getting more gas mileage. That's what George was into in his early days, is improving fuel economy in vehicles. And then came to his awareness that this could be used for health purposes. So George tells us that whole story about how he worked hard on the ranch as a kid and his inventor life and his tragedy with his first life and how that led to his mission now to help get this information into as many people's lives as possible, because it truly can be life-saving technology. So we're going to talk about Brown's gas, how you use it, the benefits it has for you, how you can apply it topically, internally, all sorts of different things. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that this information can help. So if you enjoy this episode, if you have friends and family and other people that you know that could benefit from this, please share it around. This is an important topic today because it is a simple thing that we can apply into our lives if you decide to get yourself a machine. And if you do decide to get yourself a machine, I have a discount code for you for 5% off. It is TSC50. TSC50, and you got to go to AquaCure.life. All that is going to be in the show notes. So again, TSC50 for 5% off a Brown's gas machine from AquaCure.life. Please enjoy this episode with George. Share, subscribe. I really appreciate any support that you give in any way, shape, or form. You can find this podcast on Sasha Says YouTube channel, at the Sovereign Collective podcast on BitChute, and of course, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, in audio format. Thank you, and now, on to the show. Hello, everyone. Sasha here for another interview in the Sovereign Collective podcast, and today I am joined by George Wiseman. I am super excited to get to interview this prolific inventor, but before we get into the details of that, a couple things. I'm going to remind you again, my husband and I have started a Telegram channel called Inner Alchemy Dojo. It's all about looking to achieve self-mastery, knowing thyself. I support the health aspect of things. He does the inner work kind of stuff. We do lives. It's a really great platform to come and just poke around to see if you want to get to know yourself a little bit better, because I don't know what else we're here for than to be our best self. So check that out, Inner Alchemy Dojo on Telegram. Also, some of my interviews are getting plucked off of YouTube. So if you're a viewer on YouTube, I don't have all the videos on BitChute, but if you go to Sovereign Collective on BitChute, I'm expecting this one to not stay on YouTube for very long, but maybe if we, which I hate to say censor ourselves because I hate doing that, but maybe it'll stay, maybe not. But if you are finding some videos are not available on YouTube, go check out BitChute. They're not all there, but some of them are there as well. And then you can listen to it on the other platforms on Spotify, iTunes, blah, 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 Podbean. Also, I never ever say that I have an Instagram page called Sasha K Says, where I have some of my own personal stuff, but I also always announce when I release interviews. So if you want to know about that, you can go check that out there. And what else did I want to say about that? I think that is it. Also, check out my page. So go to sovereigncollective.org/shop, and you can see some great products on there, whether it's medicinal mushrooms, other supplements, facial care, skin care, things like that. You get a great deal and you get access to some really great stuff. So That's the stuff that I want to say on the preamble. Now, back to George. George, I'm so excited. He agreed to do an interview with me quite quickly, and I'm super excited because I had a recent experience with one of your machines. So, George is an inventor and he has the AquaCure machine, which is a Brown's gas machine. And I had a friend somebody that we know, lent her a Brown's gas machine. And I've known about Brown's gas for a long time, but she came that morning and gave me a bottle of just one bottle of Brown's gas infused water. And I drank it that day, a liter of it, and I kind of forgot about it. And then the next morning, that night we had some friends over. I had a couple glasses of wine. Yes, I did. And I stayed up quite late and I had to get up in the morning and I was expecting to be really tired. And I get up and I feel good and I look in the mirror and I totally forgot that I drank this water. And I look in the mirror and thought, I look really good this morning. What's going on? And my skin felt good, like everything felt good. Everything felt tight and it was just really weird. And I literally paused and thought, what did I do differently? Because I don't expect to feel this way this morning, but here I am. And then I remembered that I drank this Brown's gas water. And then I only had one other bottle before it was gone and I couldn't try it anymore. So I'm really excited to have our own machine on the way that's supposed to arrive today. But what we're going to get into today is all about Brown's gas, the evolution of the machine that George has shared with the world and how he got to that place. Because George has a really amazing story. He has a story that I want my son to hear about because he worked hard in his childhood and it led, I think, to his prolific life as an inventor and bringing some gifts to the world. First, starting in the area of vehicles and gas mileage, which we'll talk about, and then in the area of health and wellness, which I think was probably unexpected and never intended, but it just kind of evolved that way. So George is found at eagle-research.com. We'll have that in the show notes. We'll talk about where all the information where you can get, but what you can get from him at the end. But for now, George, I want to welcome you here today. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited. You know I'm excited because I just want to get into everything, and we're going to pack it into an hour and a half today. And yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm very appreciative to be here. As you'll learn as we could continue, I really want to help as many people as possible. So platforms like yourself introduce this technology to more people in ways that help people understand that what this technology can do. And so I very much appreciate being invited on platforms like this. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So we'll start with my history a little bit, as we previously discussed. I was born in Montana, and then my father moved us to British Columbia, Canada. So I did most of my childhood growing up. We kind of moved to Oregon and then Alaska and then Canada. He was buying a ranch there. He bought 5 ranches and put them together to make one larger ranch. And we'd spend our summers up there when I was quite young. And then in '74, we moved there permanently. This ranch was so far out in the woods, in the boonies, that we didn't even get radio. And there was no electricity or running water, no indoor plumbing, no these conveniences of modern technology. So we once a week would bathe in a tin tub in the living room, and yeah, it was I could go on and on, but it was a working cattle ranch, and the ranch house was 24 feet square. Our whole family, 9 people. There were 7 kids, and I was the oldest, and
24 feet square.
Correct.
What?
This living room is larger than our whole house.
For 9 people.
Yes, plus the dogs and cats. We all lived in there.
Oh, wow.
In the attic, it had 4 corners, so each of us 4 boys had a corner, and then the girls had a bunk bed in their room. The house was essentially divided into quadrants, 4 quadrants. And so there was the girls' room, the living room, the kitchen, and mom and dad's room. And that in mom and dad's room, there was a trap door that went to the root cellar underneath. So that's where we stored our food. And mom had a 1/4-acre garden that she maintained. It was a day's drive to go to town and get stuff and come back. So we only did that about once a month. And for what for things that we needed. We were pretty far out there. Okay.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And mom would get us up. She'd start up the wood stove. She had a wood range as well, like a cook stove, and the she'd start that and the heater in the living room, wood heater. Dad used to say wood warms you twice because you got warm while you're out there chopping it, and then it warmed you when you burned it. So in any case, she'd get us up at about 4:30 in the morning. So that's where I got my work ethic from, is because anything you did that day generally wouldn't result in getting feedback, like planting crops or whatever the case may be, for 6 or 8 months even. Who knew? But I learned to do the work that needed to be done, and so I got my work ethic. Now it turned out that I had a real like genius level mechanical IQ, and that's been tested by various agencies since, and uh, literally off the scale. Which was very interesting, and I have stories about that. But in any case, when I got older and I needed to drive around, my dad got me this old '66 Ford pickup truck, F-150. And he said he'll pay for everything it takes to fix up this old junk truck. It was really, really in bad shape. I got stories about that too. And he, true to his word, he everything to fix it the first time, and then it was up to me to maintain it. And when I did fix it up, it turned out that truck was getting about 36 miles to the gallon. Now, I didn't know that pickup trucks weren't supposed to get 36 miles to the gallon. So
Mhm.
later in life, I was when I got out, I had no relationship with girls. Because we got up at 4:30 in the morning, we skied or snowshoed to wherever the cattle were, because we would build haystacks, loose haystacks, where the cattle, about 100 head. And then we'd fork out, my brothers and I, about 4 ton of hay in the morning in the dark, like it was up there in the north. We didn't see the cattle in the wintertime because it was always dark when we went out to feed them in the morning. And then
Wow.
we'd get back in order to catch the school bus. Mom would feed us breakfast after we fed the cattle. It might be a mile's snowshoeing or skiing to the cattle and then back. And then we'd catch
Oh,
the school
wow.
bus, and it was an hour's ride in the school bus to get to the little country school that we went to. And and then an hour's ride back after school. I really liked going to school because I didn't have to work so dang hard.
Totally new perspective here. Yeah.
It was a little vacation. So in any case, we rest for in the day, and then when we get home, we don't have to go and feed the cattle again. But by the time the school bus got us back, it was dark again, so we'd be skiing or snowshoeing in the dark. We'd put little poles when go across the fields. In the dark, you couldn't see very far ahead of you, so we put poles so that we could go from pole to pole and not get lost on our way to the
Wow.
cattle. Anyway, lots and lots of stories, lots of stories.
Right. I bet.
The the point is that when I took my truck out and I left the ranch, because that's what our family did, is when you graduated high school, they gave you $100 and a boot in the backside. And
Wow.
you're supposed to go out and learn to live out in the world. And out in the world, I saw of course, at school we had indoor plumbing and electricity and stuff. But after I got out of off the ranch, I decided I'd never be without it again. So I started to be an alternative energy inventor. Yeah. And part of the reason I decided to be an inventor was because either that or prospecting was pretty much the only two things I knew how to do. And and prospecting was a lot of hard work. So I decided I'd be an inventor and use my mind instead. It's still a lot of hard work, but not it, and I was seriously strong back in those days. I didn't know how strong. But I have stories about that too. Anyway, I wanted to have a relationship with women, with girls, with young women, and I thought if a guy had some money, you'd be more attractive to women. Now this is what a country boy was thinking. Okay, I've learned since there's other things that attract women as well. Thank God.
Yeah, definitely.
But I needed to make some money, so I decided I would be an inventor. And since I had this pickup truck that made such good mileage, I started my inventing business, helping people get better mileage on their vehicles. And then I wrote a book about that and taught people how to do it. So I didn't patent any of my inventions. Up to date, I have never made a patent. I've invented things and then I write manuals to tell people how to do what I did for myself. And I've helped hundreds of thousands of people get very much more fuel mileage with the various fuel innovations I did. So in any case, by this time I'm married because I had gone to agriculture college and in order to learn how to be a ranch manager. And then when just as a little bit of a segue, I get back onto the ranch, having done my little outing that for a couple of years, like us boys were supposed to do, and just to learn about the world. And my dad really didn't like my ideas that I learned in college, so we didn't get along very well. So I went off and started my own little farm. And when I was at college, I met a woman who was also interested in horses and farming and all that kind of stuff. So it was a good match. And we got married and started our own little goat ranch. So that was interesting. But farming doesn't make very much money. It's a lifestyle more than an occupation, if you will. So I started the inventing business and wrote the manuals to tell people how to do it and sold the manuals. And the nice thing about the manuals is they can go worldwide, cross borders, no tariffs or any of those kind of things going on. So there isn't a lot of money in selling books, but it was enough to support us, and I did quite well. And but people, just as another quick little story on that, other people did a lot better than I did. There were people that made 6 and 7 figure incomes by buying my manual and then making businesses selling kits or assembling the machines, or installing or that kind of thing. There was one particular guy in a town not too far from us who bought my carburetor enhancer manual back in the days when there was carburetors. Oh, by the way, this is not oxygen. This is Brown's gas.
Right. We were going to get to that because I forgot I was going to make a comment about it. But yeah, guys, if you're watching the video, he's not on oxygen. He's not an oxygen patient. He's taking in Brown's gas.
Whenever I sit down at the computer, I put on my Brown's gas. So
right.
And I sit at the computer way too many hours a day. So I usually get 6 or 8 hours of inhalation in a day.
Wow.
So we'll get back to that. In any case, this guy, he set up a couple of mechanics in a mechanic shop installing the carburetor enhancers. And within a couple of years, he retired. He bought an RV and he came to me and shook my hand at my place. And he said he made enough money to retire, having done this, and he wanted to thank me. So he shook my hand. He said, "See that RV? I'm now traveling around the country and just enjoying myself." And I made probably about $4 on that sale.
Wow.
He made enough money to retire. And this was common. There were several people that did things like that. And I'll get back to reason why I told that story in a little bit. Okay. So in any case, but I made $4 several hundred thousand times. So, I did okay. And I helped a lot of people. So enter Brown's gas. Brown's gas, at first, when I bought it, was simply because I wanted to, all right, back up just a step. Why we call it Brown's gas is because it's an electrolyzer that splits water into hydrogen and oxygen and a special form of water called electrically expanded water. We'll get to that in a little bit. The point is, single ducted gas, in other words, an electrolyzer that splits water but doesn't separate the gases into hydrogen and oxygen. There's no membrane in the middle. This is really important when you're making the Brown's gas. So with no membrane in the middle, all 3 gases, because this electrically expanded water forms in the water itself. So what it is water that has soaked up electrons until it's become a gaseous form of water that is not water vapor or steam. It's a cold plasma form of water, negatively charged plasma, because it's got a lot of extra electrons. So it's H2O negative. Okay. So these 3 gases, hydrogen, oxygen, and the EXW, come out all the same hose. So it's called a single ducted gas. The first guy who invented it, in other words, patented it, It's probably been around for 100 years or more, who knows?
Oh, okay.
But the first guy to actually patent it was William Rhodes in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, I happened to meet this man who was an actual rocket scientist, had 100 patents to his name, and even up till the year that he died, was consulting with NASA to help them solve problems that they needed. So it turns out that okay, I'll come back to that in just a second, but so Brown's gas was taken up by Yul Brown in Australia, and Yul Brown is the one that essentially commercialized it worldwide, and that's where I heard about it. So that's why we call it Brown's gas, is it was named after the guy who invented his own Brown's gas machine and then commercialized it.
So was he commercializing for what purpose? As a torch, as for vehicles, for what purpose was he?
Originally he wanted to make cars run on water.
Right.
And there are technologies that can make cars run on water, but that's a whole nother subject. And he had an engine in his laboratory that was running on Brown's gas, but it took so much electricity for the electrolysis to make enough gas to do that, that it would dim the lights in the neighborhood when he would turn on his machine.
Oh, wow.
So he wasn't running that on water, although I understand that he did run vehicles on water. And there was another guy called Denny Klein in Florida that did it as well. But generally by having a large battery bank in the trunk and then using the batteries to make the electrolysis to run the vehicle on the water instead of fuel in a fuel tank. He was essentially an electric car, but a very inefficient one, because by the time you take the electricity and run it through electrolysis to make the gas to run in an internal combustion engine, which is only running around 25% efficiency, you're using a lot of electricity to actually get your forward momentum, where you could just use the batteries to run an electric motor and you'd go 4 times further on your batteries. But it was interesting to run on water. So this is the kind of thing that was going on at the time. Anyway, originally he wanted to make cars run on water, but to finance that, he built these electrolyzers that made enough Brown's gas that he could replace the fuel in an oxyacetylene torch. So replace the acetylene and run on Brown's gas flame only. And the Brown's gas flame has many really interesting characteristics, which made it a lot better than acetylene in those applications. It would cut steel 30% faster, cleaner cut, straighter cut, less heat hardening, all those kind of things. So I wanted one of those torches in my shop. But I couldn't afford the machines because I actually got a quote for $300,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was like way above my budget. So,
and how long ago was that?
Inventor. Pardon?
How long ago was that?
That was back in about 1987.
Wow, 300,000 back then.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah. So I think they saw me coming and they thought they could get a lot of money from me or something like that, because it doesn't cost anything like that to build the machines. So in any case, I decided, since I'm an inventor, I understand electrolysis, I would build my own design. And since I'm an alternative energy researcher, in other words, it isn't just fuel saving I was doing, I was improving the efficiency of many other kinds of things as well, electrically. And like, for example, my capacitive battery charger, which is important in this particular case, works on what I call a capacitive power supply, which I invented. And the battery charger would charge a battery with half the electricity that an inductive battery charger, like you could buy on the store shelf even today, does. So whenever I go to charge a battery, it's a very efficient process for me. In any case, I combined my technologies with the electrolysis, like this capacitive power supply, and I ended up with an electrolyzer, large electrolyzer that could produce the Brown's gas. And by this time, it's, in the early 90s. But I designed it that I could, and it produced the same volume of gas with half the electricity. The machine itself was half the weight and half the size, because they were very heavy machines that were being made in China by that time. And so it was a very efficient electrolyzer. When they finally compared head to head the Brown's gas machines with what I call water torches. Okay, So in the meantime, while I made this machine, we also started making little mini electrolyzers that could go on a vehicle and they would be used for fuel savers. And I had to kind of develop that because carburetors were going away in the mid to late 80s, and it was transitioning to fuel injection. And so my carburetor enhancer wasn't going to work. I had to have other kinds of fuel savers. And the Brown's gas did quite well to increase the efficiency of combustion. And there's a whole reasoning behind that, but that's not our story for today. We can come back to all these things if your audience starts asking questions and shows interest.
Okay.
In any case. So I made these water torches, and one of my water torch customers in 1996 ended up bubbling Brown's gas in water because we were by that time bubbling in water and feeding it to plants, and the plants were doing very, very well. In soil, they would grow 3 times faster. In hydroponics, 10 times faster.
Wow.
And so this guy thought, well, it's working on plants. This is my idea of his reasoning, because I had no idea why a person would use a combustible gas for health purposes, which now you can see me. I got on board, but he bubbled the water, and then because he had a melanoma on his forehead. And so he soaked a cotton ball and put that cotton ball on his forehead, re-soaking it several times a day. And in 3 weeks' time, his melanoma was gone. Skin cancer, one of the worst cancers, gone. 3 weeks' time. I didn't believe him.
Right.
Okay. But I told my thousands of, but in those days it was mail order. Internet was just kind of getting going in the mid 90s. And so I told my mail order list that there was this potential application, health application. So people started bubbling the water and getting back to me with various results and drinking the water and putting it on skin conditions and things. And so by 2005, so 1996 to 2005, my customers convinced me to bubble the water and drink it myself.
Took a while.
Yeah. I call it expert syndrome. You get blinders, okay?
Oh, interesting.
And you don't see things off to the side. And I'm an inventor. I should know better, right? But in any case, they convinced me. So in 2005, I started bubbling the water, and I didn't get sick from 2005 to 2007. So 2 years, I drank the bubbled water. And I decided not getting sick was a very good thing, because I used to get 3 colds or flus a winter. I could just count on it. And I haven't been sick like that since 2005, which I sincerely appreciate. Even during the time, the 3 years ago, when they had this worldwide thing going on and people were sniffling and coughing around me. Nope, I didn't get sick. So I like that a lot. I like not being sick.
Right.
So in 2007, I recommended to my customers that this was an actual real thing, a health application of bubbling the water and drinking it. And then they started asking me, can we inhale the gas? And as you can see, I'm obviously inhaling the gas, but I said no. Okay. I thought it was probably not a good idea to inhale a potentially combustible, here, explosive gas. Hydrogen oxygen gas is one of the most explosive mixtures on the planet. In fact, if you watch Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman, it's an old show now, but at the time it was new. They used hydrogen oxygen bombs to wipe out small towns, just totally incinerate them. It's the most powerful bomb in their arsenal, short of nuclear. So it's going. And when I worked in the mines, I took the courses to get my demolition certification, explosive certification. And I can tell you, even though I used to blow mountains apart for a living, okay, one of the largest explosions I ever heard was the Brown's gas explosion when I was doing some testing on various things. So I've done a lot to make Brown's gas safe.
Right. So, yeah, that being said, like, have you had accidents with that in your time? You're still here if it's so dangerous.
Yeah. No, I'm still here, and all of our customers are still here.
Good. Okay.
Because there has been explosions, accidental, even if there's a static electric spark to the hose itself, okay? So the spark hits the outside of the hose or the outside of a plastic bag, it will ignite the gas inside the bag.
Wow.
By conductive transference, okay, like a capacitor. So, and there's a story, one of the first ones that came back to me, this guy was treating had a bag on his arm treating carpal tunnel syndrome, which it works quite well for. In minutes, carpal tunnel is gone, by the way, because it's an inflammation of the tendon sheath of the arm, and the Brown's gas hydrates all that, makes everything work like it's supposed to, and it does it quickly. In any case, he has a plastic bag on his arm, feeding the gas in there, and his dog wants to go outside to use it to poo. So he takes the hose off, but maintains the gas in his hand, and goes to the door to open the door, and reaches out to the doorknob, and a static spark goes to the hand, and the bag blows up. Okay, it makes a very loud bang. The guy's arm is not hurt, and nothing's hurt. It's just very startling. It's like a balloon popping when it's being pressure like that and stuff. But the funny part was the bang startled the dog, and he pooped on the floor.
Okay, so that was the worst of it. So,
yeah.
but it's not going to ignite. It's not going to go up the tube. It's not, because if the gas is still flowing,
it will go up the tube. See, that's the thing. If it ignites, it'll go up the tube back to the electrolyzer itself. Okay, it won't go into your lungs, into your body, into your lungs. And so this is what happened. In December of 2015, a customer sent me a video of, because I'd been advising people not to inhale the gas for all these years, from 2007 to 2015. Okay, again. So I look at it, and I happen to know that this is Brown's gas that they're inhaling, not just pure hydrogen, because pure hydrogen without oxygen in the hose will not explode. Okay, right. So this is one of the advantages of pure hydrogen. However, as soon as the hydrogen mixes with the oxygen you're inhaling in the air, it is explosive. Okay, so you still have to take all the safety precautions that you would normally with Brown's gas, even if you're inhaling pure hydrogen. All right, so this particular Korean video showed a hydrogen bar, which was using Brown's gas, where people would go in and buy a Brown's gas treatment like we buy a cup of coffee. And it was epoch machine, so I know it was Brown's gas that they were inhaling. And I realized, that I was wrong. People could inhale the gas. And this is about 2007, and hydrogen technology was just starting to take off by then, and some scientific studies were being done. In fact, there was a fellow by the name of Tyler LeBaron, who was an intern at the time, and researching Brown's gas as he was learning the medical stuff, who did an interview consultation with me at that time, and now has one of the best hydrogen for health websites on the internet, called molecularhydrogen.org. Okay, so he's Tyler LeBaron in any case. All right. Okay. And so I realized that you can inhale the gas if you keep it under the lower explosive limit. So being a combustion expert, making fuel savers and I had all this explosive certification and stuff, I should have realized about this lower explosive limit. I was thinking the gas itself is explosive, and didn't take into account that the gas that you're inhaling is only a very small portion of the gas total mixture that you're inhaling. So as long as the gas that you're inhaling, or the whole mixture you're inhaling, has less than 4.7% hydrogen, it can't explode. It can't explode if it's under that 4.7%. And it turns out a lot of scientific experiments have been done to show you have 100% therapeutic efficacy if you're inhaling a 2% mixture. Okay, so well under the explosive limit. You don't need to have 4.7 or even more. And there are people out there that are inhaling more than that. And there's nothing wrong with that. you can't poison yourself or get too much hydrogen or anything like that because you exhale any excess. Like carbon dioxide. If you have too much carbon dioxide in your body exhales the excess carbon dioxide. And the same with the hydrogen. So you can't get too much as far as that's concerned. But you can get too much and you can end up inhaling a potentially explosive mixture. So you feel great inhaling all of this hydrogen if you happen to be inhaling too much, what I consider to be too much, until that microsecond where it ignites and the explosion goes into you instead of just down the tubes. Okay. You don't want that to happen.
Scary. No. Don't want it to go.
Exactly. And there are at least a dozen people out on the internet now. Some companies, very large companies, almost billion-dollar companies from China, and small people who are just making copies of the AquaCure, but they're not controlling how much hydrogen the machine is making. So they're not optimizing the amount of gas for a person. They're just doing what I call 100% gas. So they're inhaling over the 4.7%, and that is potentially explosive. And at some point, somebody's going to get seriously hurt. Now, one of my customers who was doing AquaCure turned his machine up to 60% instead of because he was taking advice from one of these people that was making a 100% machine and thinking that more is better. More is not better. And maybe we'll get back to that.
And 60% is referring to like the entire gas. Like, what is that referring to?
No, it's referring to the amount of amount that the machine can make. So the machine can make this much gas.
Yeah.
So he was doing 60% of the total that the machine could make.
Right.
Now, when you take that 60%, then it ended up being about a 7 or 8% mixture that the guy was inhaling. 7 or 8% hydrogen in his inhaled
mixture. Okay.
breath.
Yeah. And you should have it at what? What is the maximum you should have it at?
The instruction manual says that it should be 2%.
Yeah.
In your inhaled breath.
Yeah.
But you have to adjust the machine depending on your body weight. Because your body requires a certain amount of oxygen or breath or tidal breath and stuff.
Okay.
So what happens is you take your weight and you go to the chart I have on page 26.
Okay.
And it'll tell you where to set the machine so that you're inhaling a 2% mixture.
Okay.
Now for me, it's 34%. So the guy was inhaling about twice what he should have been. And of course, his body, and now we get to the point where you're exhaling any excess, his body's only taking in about 1% to maintain, once the blood is saturated, about 1%. So he's exhaling all the excess. So let's say you're inhaling at about 4.7, you take one, you got 3.7 that's being exhaled, add it to the 4.7, he's over 8% of hydrogen in his exhaled breath. Now what happens is he leaned over a candle flame. And when he breathed onto the candle flame, the gas ignited and it backfired back into his sinuses, back into his lungs. And he went to the hospital with a severe concussion and bloody nose kind of thing.
Oh.
So this is the safety thing you have to pay attention to. The gas is totally non-toxic, absolutely safe in virtually any concentration, except for its combustibility. As I started right at the beginning, you have to watch the combustibility of hydrogen oxygen mixtures. But if you can keep the level under 4.7%, and we recommend 2%, then you're 100% safe. There's absolutely no way it's going to harm you. Okay. So in any case, in December of 2015, when they sent me this video, I was a 24/7 caretaker of my late wife. She had a very severe form of lupus. We didn't know that at the time because she felt that hospitals were places you go to die. And so we were treating her various symptoms and not knowing exactly what we were treating until about 10 days before her actual death, where she couldn't breathe anymore. So she went into the hospital. And it was a very bad time in my life. That was in March of 2016, by the time that she actually went into the hospital. But we had fought this disease for years, okay? Somewhere around 2009 or something, I wasn't able to really do my business anymore. And we spent our money trying to get her well. And by the time it came around in March of 2016, we were about $300,000 in debt because we'd mortgaged everything, credit cards, whatever we could. And I wasn't making very much money because I was doing minimal to no business because I couldn't be away from her more than about 20 or 30 minutes at a time because I needed to carry her to the toilet and things. She was losing her hair. She'd lost her eyesight. She was so weak that she just couldn't even roll over in bed without assistance. So it was a very hard time in both of our lives. Mm-hmm. And this is one of, and I'll get back to that in a minute. Anyway, she died, and there was, I was severely in grief in the mid March 2016. And a lot of other stories aside, I can come back to if necessary. I look over my shoulder at this Brown's gas machine, the ER50 that I'd been selling since 2007, actually earlier than that, because I made it originally so that people could have a micro torch and sort of for soldering and electronics and little micro things. They could use this ER50 instead of buying several $1,000 ER1200 or one of the big water torches. So in any case, we had modified this ER50 so that people could bubble water and drink the water with a little tabletop machine. So I decided that I would try this inhalation thing because the ER50 put out about the same gas volume as the epoch machines that they were using in the hydrogen bar over in Korea. So I modified the machine and I videotaped myself during that very first time. I just, there's things that happen. I date myself. I say videotaping, right? And nobody does videotaping anymore. Anyway, but I guess it's still called that. Anyway, I still have that video on my YouTube channel, but I videotaped myself because I thought if something went wrong, there'd at least be a evidence of my stupidity or whatever the case may be. Yes. So and people can see what I looked like then, and you can see what I look like now, and see the difference. I'm now younger biologically than I was 20 years ago. So wow. when you look at my various pictures and stuff. So in any case, I did it, and I did it for a month, and I started to have 10 times the health benefits that I had. There's a long list. There's at least 15 different things that were happening in my body. All my warts disappeared. All my scars. Actually, at that time, it was just my psoriasis that had disappeared, and a few other things that were going on. And I decided, okay, it's safe, because I do things with myself first before I recommend them to my customers. So I decided it was safe, and I put out to my thousands of at this point email subscribers, and then the testimonials really started to pour in. It was absolutely incredible. Wow. So I all this was going really well until about 3 months after, there was a woman who wrote in, and she had lupus. And in 3 weeks' time, her lupus symptoms were gone. Oh. And that, like the grief originally almost killed me. If I didn't end up with something, the Brown's gas saved my life, quite literally and frankly. I understand how people followed their spouse into the grave. I really, really do. There were times when I was grieving that my chest hurt so bad, and I'd realize I hadn't even taken a breath in a while. Yeah. People, my anatomic body functions were just shutting down because I just didn't care. I wasn't suicidal. I just didn't care.
Right.
And but when I started inhaling the Brown's gas, one of the things that happened was my libido came back.
Ah.
And I can tell you for absolutely certain that when you want to have sex, you care whether you live or die.
Fair enough. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
So I started caring, and I started dating again and things, and in the meantime, I had this Brown's gas machine that was helping people, and this woman came back with this 3 weeks gone with the lupus, and when I realized,
yeah,
that again, all that grief, all that just, I literally fell to the carpet and was crying on the carpet. I couldn't even stand up because I realized that here I am, a Brown's gas expert, who had this wonderful woman. I can tell you many things about this woman who shouldn't have died because I had the technology in my own shop. We were $300,000 in debt, trying all kinds of different modalities and therapies. And in my own shop, I had what she needed, but we never thought to use that technology.
Yeah.
And so I was in my mind begging her spirit for forgiveness. I was totally, I just couldn't, when I got around to thinking again, the only way I could get off the carpet was to make a deal with God to say, okay, I realize this is what I call my Jonah moment. Jonah is a whale, just puked him up on the beach. And this is the time I said, okay, I understand. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what you told me in 1996 the potential of Brown's gas was. This is what all these customers have been telling me all these years. This is what I'd been told. And I paid this price because I didn't listen. And I just didn't listen. So to make her death worth it, because she paid this price for this, I said, I'm going to help as many people as possible not go through that pain and suffering for years that we did. And it isn't just people that are ill too. Athletes, pro athletes are doing the Brown's gas and increasing their performance. We've got lots of testimonials on that as well. So, and the rodent studies have been done with the Brown's gas. Excuse me a second. The rodent studies have been done are showing a 30 to 50% healthful lifespan increase. So instead of just hugging your grandkids, you could be hugging your great grandkids and enjoying life for that much longer. And there's so many things more that you can do with your life. Like, you know yourself, the first 20 years are just spent learning how to, get around. Your next 20 years are spent making yourself a potentially useful person. And then the third 20 years, you actually get something done. But and then you retire. Imagine if you had another 20 or 30 years, what you could do. Anyway,
Right.
Getting back to this, so that's why I'm passionate about helping people. I don't want people to go through the pain and suffering that we did, that cost me and cost her. It wasn't necessary if people just take care of themselves in a certain way. So it comes back down to why is it so important? How does it work? And it comes down to, we understand and now hydrogen, but also this electrically expanded water, which enhances it. So we have, excuse me again.
So a little bit of my tears here too.
Our bodies are 62% hydrogen by volume. So hydrogen is our major macronutrient. Then you're 24% oxygen, 12% carbon. So we aren't carbon-based life forms. We're hydrogen-based life forms. And then 2% everything else. So when people are talking about nutrition, they really need to pay attention to this hydrogen, 62% hydrogen portion. Now, when people don't have enough hydrogen, we've discovered that the body, which is amazing in its ability to maintain life, just like when you're out in the woods or outside in the cold and you start to get hypothermia, your body will shut off or slow down blood flow to your extremities to preserve core temperature. These are just automatic anatomic systems that are happening. So when you don't have enough of a nutrient, your body shuts down extraneous, not immediately life-threatening things. So the first thing that shuts down is regeneration systems. So if you have a scar anywhere on your body, you are not getting enough hydrogen, because your body just patched it instead of actually healing it. Your stem cells are not working like they should be because your regeneration system has been shut down. And then if you still don't have enough hydrogen, your immune systems start to go offline and you get sick easier. But it isn't immediately life-threatening. And the next thing, if you still don't have enough hydrogen, is that your organs will start to fail and then you'll die. So when I started inhaling the hydrogen, several different things happened. And I don't know, can you see the AquaCure.life above my head?
I can. It's backwards though.
Oh, shoot.
It says it backwards. AquaCure.life.
Then
I meant to say that, but I just got used to it.
Okay, I got it. Just one second here. I can adjust that. Fairly quickly. Is it this one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry, I should have said that before.
Okay. I should check on that right at the beginning. So in any case, AquaCure.life, if you go to my story on that particular website, you'll see the more than a dozen things that happened to me. But one thing that I noticed was my scars all disappeared from my body. So my body's regeneration system had come back online. I had a heart murmur for over 50 years. And that went away. My doctors confirmed I no longer had a heart murmur anymore. So my organs healed. I didn't get sick, so my immune systems had come back online and my regeneration systems had come back online. So my immune systems got rid of warts that I had had for over 50 years, which are a virus, and it got rid of the scars. So it just, instead of the patch, it actually healed the skin and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of things that happen when you get enough hydrogen. So where do you get your hydrogen from?
Right.
And this is next obvious question. We get it from our food, generally speaking. Now, when we drink water, that's H2O. There's mostly hydrogen in water, but that you could think of that like oil in the body. It's a lubricant. It's what the body needs for hydration in the lubrication system. But it takes a lot of energy to break the hydrogen-oxygen bond. So we don't get very much of our hydrogen right from water itself, the pure free hydrogen, if you will. The hydrogen-carbon bond in our food, we're mostly hydrocarbons. Most living beings and plants and all that on the planet are hydrocarbons and formed from hydrocarbons. So anyway, the hydrogen-carbon bond is easier to break. So, but we chew our food, we throw in some enzymes, we swallow it into an acid bath, then it goes out into the lower intestine with some bile and microorganisms and all these catalysts and enzymes. By the time we reach the colon, the large intestine, just before we poop it out, there's a special bacteria that's supposed to be there that actually then, with all this other assistance, weakening those bonds, breaks apart the hydrogen-oxygen bonds, and then the hydrogen goes directly into your bloodstream through the colon wall. So this is how we get our hydrogen normally, or should be getting our hydrogen. But antibiotics kill the good bacteria along with the bad bacteria. Glyphosate, artificial sweeteners, a whole long list of chemicals and stuff that are in our environment and we swallow or inhale are killing those bacteria. And therefore, we're not getting the nutrition from our food. We're eating our food, it's going through our body, but we're not getting all the nutrition from it, the hydrogen that we should be getting, and maybe other things as well. So we become nutritionally deficient, even though we're eating our food, because our microbiome has been decimated. Okay. So we supplement with the hydrogen, and this bypasses all the things that have to do with our digestive system and gives us our hydrogen directly. The Brown's gas also gives us energy. Lots of times when people are sick, their energy reserves have been depleted and their energy generation systems have been compromised. So they're not getting all the energy you need. You need three things to heal. You need intelligence, energy, and nutrition. The hydrogen is like a brick, a building brick. It builds a brick house. It's your nutrition, but it doesn't do anything by itself. It needs energy to move it into the right spot. Just like a building brick needs to be moved into the right spot to build a brick house. But it also needs the intelligence to put the brick in the right place. And so you need those three things, and the Brown's gas is giving you the nutrition and the energy that then once you start healing, your energy generation systems come back online. You start an upward spiral in the health. So this is why it's really important to get the Brown's gas over just the straight hydrogen. Straight hydrogen helps, there's no question about it, but the Brown's gas is proving to be about 30% more therapeutically efficacious. So now we know what Brown's gas is: hydrogen, oxygen, and electrically expanded water.
Can I just ask a question there? Is that electrically expanded water, is that to do with the fourth phase of water? Is that what that is?
Really good question. It's a really good question. And yes and no. Professor Gerald Pollack of the University of Washington discovered something that he named the fourth phase of water, which it actually isn't water. So it can't be the fourth phase of water. He calls it easy water or exclusion zone water. Okay. And some other people also call it structured water. Now, whenever you have a hydrophilic surface, okay, as opposed to hydrophobic, which is water hating, hydrophilic is water loving surface, and water comes up against it, it forms an exclusion zone, easy zone, where anything that's impure at that point gets excluded. So he was using microspheres to see this easy zone. And when they measure what it actually is, it's H3O2 negative. Okay. So it's not H2O. It's not water. H3O2 is hydrogen peroxide. You'd never mistake hydrogen peroxide for water. H3O2 is a gel. So I call it easy gel. I've had lots of conversations with Professor Pollack, and he's an absolute Nobel quality genius man. There's no question about that. But when he named this easy water, that caught on, but it's a misnomer. Okay. So I call it easy gel. Okay. And the easy gel, interestingly enough, when you put extra hydrogen in the water, it doesn't affect the easy gel. When you put extra oxygen in the water, a little bit it increases the easy gel. When you put Brown's gas in the water, the minimum that the easy gel expands is 300%. And it can, and this is looking at it with a microscope, extreme magnification, because it's a very thin layer. But with the Brown's gas in the water, and you just leave it in there, it can make the gel layer so thick that you can actually see it with the naked eye. So thousands of times thicker than just straight hydrogen or anything else. Okay. So, and there's other things that make easy gel thicker, like radiant infrared energy. So that's one of the reasons why a sauna is really helpful for health, because it helps the easy gel expand.
So that easy gel expansion is going to have obviously good effects on our health outcomes.
Yes, I'll tell there's three medical mysteries out there. Okay. First of all, it's been proven that the heart can't pump enough, doesn't produce enough pressure to pump the blood through all the hundreds of thousands of miles of our capillaries. Yeah. Or capillaries. Tomato, tomato. So capillaries. And but the medical industry doesn't tell people this. But if you go looking, you can find it. It just doesn't produce enough pressure.
Right.
And the second medical mystery is, how come a red blood cell, which is twice the size of a capillary, doesn't just plug up the capillary? How come it just slides right through? And the third thing is, why is it? Because when you understand fluid dynamics, hydrodynamics, fluids always take the path of least resistance. So how come the heart doesn't pump and it just go around in the thoracic region and back to the heart? How come the top of my pointy head to the tips of my fingers to the tips of my toes gets even blood flow? There's blood flow evenly everywhere in my body. Why is that possible? So there's three medical mysteries, are all solved with the easy gel. First of all, easy gel is negatively charged, and like charges repel. And the red blood cells get a coating of because they're hydrophilic, get a coating of the easy gel on them, so it's negatively charged. And the inside of all the capillaries gets a coating, so it's negatively charged, so they repel. And a gel is slippery anyway. So now we've reduced friction to almost nothing. But what Professor Pollack's lab also discovered was that when you have a capillary, a very, very, very small tube with the EZ gel inside it, it spontaneously starts to pump fluid with no pump.
Right.
Fluid starts to flow with no pump. So all the heart has to do is get the blood to the capillaries, and the capillaries actually do the pumping. And that's why you have even blood flow everywhere. That's why the slipperiness and charge prevent it from stopping up. And that's why the heart doesn't have to produce so much pressure. All three medical mysteries solved by Professor Pollack's work. He should be getting a Nobel Peace Prize, but his peers are preventing him from doing it.
Right.
This is like the discovery of fire.
Yeah, that's great. So I would think anybody with circulatory issues, this would be a really amazing technology to bring into their home, right? Just get things moving.
Exactly.
I think you would sell that pretty fast.
That's exactly right. And it turns out that every one of our cells is plumped up with this EZ gel inside the cell.
Mm.
One of the reasons all my crow's feet disappeared. Okay, because my skin.
Yeah. This is good. Anti-aging. We actually have somebody who said my husband went and saw him recently. He just got one, and I asked him, does he think it's working? He says, not only, he said, it's the only thing that I've ever noticed that I think is working, and I think it's de-aging me. That's what he just said.
There you go. So that answers a lot of the questions about why Brown's gas works and why you need hydrogen to begin with. And so the AquaCure now is designed to be safe. So I've been designing electrolyzers since 1986. And during all this time, I've been optimizing them for various applications, fuel savers, water torch, and some other things. So my point is, I know how Brown's gas electrolyzers work and how to make it safe. And what's happened is we've bought a Chinese version. In fact, there's a funny story about that is that when this Chinese chassis they call a Ving first came out of China, which, by the way, China is everywhere over there in the Asian countries is way ahead of us with Brown's gas, way ahead. They're doing stuff over there already with Brown's gas. Their entire infrastructure was pretty much built without the acetylene and MAP gases and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you remember, but a couple of decades ago, China really and its other Asian countries really started to come up into first world status, and they were building million-person cities in a month, and things like that. It was crazy, but at that point they had the Brown's gas, so they, instead of putting in like a acetylene infrastructure, they just made lots of these Brown's gas machines, so that anyone who wanted to use a torch would just simply buy a Brown's gas machine rather than buying, like we do over here, bottled gases. Right. But then they have to store the bottles. They have demarge charges. They can run out of gas. All these other kinds of things. They just built it on the Brown's gas infrastructure, and there's a bunch of other things that Brown's gas is doing over there. So my point is, they're way ahead of us. In any case, they showed the. I lost my original train of thought on that because getting into that, the Brown's gas is helpful in all of these ways. So they have a lot of good technology over there for making Brown's gas machines. Now, the Ving machine is about what I call my 1996 technology. Okay, it's a good machine. It's practical, and they make it for pennies on the dollar over there. That we can buy it from China. Now with the tariffs, that's probably going to change somewhat. I'm already designing a North American machine that's based more on my technology.
Yeah.
But what's happening there is these machines were still selling at the time for about $250 on eBay. And I couldn't even buy the materials in North America to build the machine and retail it to build the machine, let alone retail it at $250. So I thought I was out of the micro torch business, my ER50 and that sort of thing, because I couldn't compete with that. I was selling them for $500 to $700 kind of thing. And they were selling them at $250. So I bought one and I looked it over, and it was a pretty good machine. So and then this health aspect came up. So I went back into my shop and I took this old machine, which I remembered I had, and I looked it over and I thought, I can modify this machine with some of my own technology and make it acceptable. And here now I can sell a machine for $2,500, which I would otherwise, if I was selling it in North America, I'd have to sell it for $5,000. So because I got all these components and all the basic, the chassis and stuff for almost nothing if you consider it that way. But then I put in several $100s of labor and parts and things into the machine. So I'm still needing to sell it for $2,500, but I have a safe machine. It's the point. We have an efficacious machine. It's very practical. It has a lot of functionality that other machines out there don't have. And some of that functionality is going to become very obvious this year. Finally getting around to making the attachments that'll fit onto every AquaCure ever made.
Because so you don't need a new machine.
It doesn't matter how old a machine a person have. From the very first time we had an AquaCure, these new accessories that I'm buying will fit on those machines. Not necessarily, and that's when these Me Too people that are coming up, like I say, these dozen people that are making, they're using the same Ving chassis, but they're just putting the minimal work on it, just essentially slapping on a couple of things on the side of it and not making all the changes on the inside that are necessary to make it safe. They won't be able to do what I'm attach these accessories properly onto these.
And are you going to share what kind of accessories they are, or is that a secret?
Well, the first accessory that'll be coming out was now I've married again. I'm not wonderful woman. In fact, I wouldn't be living in this. Yes, thank you. Yeah, she makes my life so much better, and a partnership like that is really important. And I've come to realize over the years that the relationship is more important than anything. There's nothing more important than the relationship. So you can be living in your car or being a hobo or whatever, but if you've got the relationship, you have a good life.
Yeah.
Okay. So in any case, they're using these machines. The first one that's coming out, the accessory will be the micro bubbler. And the reason I mentioned my wife is because, first of all, she's the one that recommended that I go from the ER50, which was essentially she called it a science experiment. She said, no woman is going to want that science experiment in her house. You got to put this thing in a case. You got to make it look like something that can look nice in a home. So that's when I went back out to my shop and got that. So that was number one. I wouldn't be having the AquaCure if my wife hadn't recommended it, because I'm a scientist, an inventor, and this assembly of tubes did the job nicely, but it didn't look good. So in any case, that was the first thing. And then other things were coming up, like you can bubble the Brown's gas in water. We all know that now, and the water will there's spaces between interstitial spaces between the water molecules, and so some gas can be absorbed in the water without being bubbles. It just absorbs in that, just like it absorbs into the blood plasma in our bodies, like carbon dioxide and hydrogen does. Anyway, in any case, you can put some hydrogen in the water and it is therapeutic. That's how the guy got rid of his melanoma,
right?
Which, by the way, has been duplicated several times since. There's been other people, and I have pictures of that. If you go to the AquaCure.live website, you'll see the pictures of a German guy who had a severe melanoma, psoriasis on his head, and in 3 weeks' time, it was pretty much gone.
3 weeks is the magic number, it seems. Wow.
Yeah, for these sort of things. And now some things take quite a long time to resolve, which is one of the reasons we have a 1-year satisfaction guarantee. So anyone who buys a machine can use it for a whole year and return it for any reason whatsoever or no reason, and get their money back.
Wow.
So I have a 1-year satisfaction guarantee, because it takes time to resolve some issues or to make enough of a impact that people realize they really need this thing. And I want people to really use these things, because that's what we're about. We're about helping people. I also have a lifetime manufacturer's warranty, which none of these other people have either of those things. Because I'll just go back to the ranch for a minute. I consider myself to be a lazy person, even though I get up at 2 or 3 in the morning and work until 8 o'clock. In
Very
fact,
lazy.
I had to make a deal with my wife, or she made a deal with me that I have to stop work at 5 o'clock. And sometimes I work later, depending, but I have to stop work at 5 o'clock so I can spend time with her, because she said, why are we married? If you're not.
Fair.
Okay. All right, there's some logic there. And she said, you're just a warm spot in the bed. Like it's the so and weekends. So after 5 and weekends, I primarily focus on our relationship and things, the to-do list around the house and all the things that are necessary that aren't working with AquaCure. But in any case, I consider myself to be a lazy person because I don't like to fix things any more than once. And when a machinery would break down, remember I had this mechanical IQ thing. When a machine would break down, I'd figure out why it broke, and I would fix it so it wouldn't break again that way, and any other way that I could think of. So our machinery on the ranch worked very well, and it was, my dad was an innovator as well. He did things that the U.S. government had taken and used. So in any case, I built the AquaCure like that, so it doesn't break down, which is why I can have a lifetime warranty. It's going to work for decades. And unlike vehicles, like when I was an automotive mechanic, I have automotive technician certification as well. Well, I was working with fuel savers. I had to go and get the certification. What can I say? So but when I was fixing people's vehicles, it really hurt me that they would go out and not maintain their vehicle and come back and it'd be broken just because they didn't take care of it. So I had more of affinity to the vehicles than to the people driving them. What can I say? So, but I also learned that it's a planned obsolescence. The car manufacturers make more money on the fixing things and it using fuel. Like it's a vehicle designed to use fuel. Like you could buy a printer really inexpensively, but the toner costs you an arm and a leg.
Right. It's ridiculous.
So they sell you the printer, so you'll buy lots of the toner, right? Well, they sell you this vehicle, so you'll buy lots of the fuel. So that's why the fuel savers, I was investigated by various government agencies 7 times.
Okay, so I was going to fit in that time because I'm sure you're meeting resistance from the health perspective and from the fuel saving perspective. So yes. just tell us a little bit about that, sir, because in this world where it's like, oh yeah, climate change, we want to fix this and we're going to go with this technology. It's all green. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Like, honestly. So yeah, just tell us quickly about those investigations with your fuel saving days.
Yes. So there were various state attorney generals. There was the corporate affairs Canada. There was, like I said, it ended up being 7 different investigations. And because after the 70s, and they started using fuel again, like after the crunch back then, energy crunch, they want vehicles to use fuel, and therefore fuel savers that actually work, they don't want. I went to the patent repository in Moscow, Idaho, and I forget exactly what year it was, but I only went back 5 years, and I found over 5,000 fuel saver patents.
Wow.
There are thousands and thousands of fuel savers out there. Okay.
Right.
Not one of those fuel savers was on the market. Not one.
Crazy.
There's another reason why I don't patent. It's useless. What I do is I write the books and tell people how to do that. So they could go to my website. That's the eagle-research.com website, and buy the books and get better mileage on their vehicles. And the fuel savers work. So a couple of things happened. First of all, they made television shows, like in Canada they had this show, the Consumer Protection Show, that did an expose on fuel savers, and they tested these various fuel savers, and they tested mine too. Okay. But they only reported on the fuel savers that didn't work.
Of course.
So it implied that all fuel savers don't work. But what am I going to do? I can't sue the government. This is a government-sponsored TV show. Our sales crashed right after that show because people didn't trust fuel savers. They didn't trust me, which hurt as well. But
but that was the plan. I mean, that was the intended outcome, right? Like this
exactly.
is if we can't be more efficient and clean in this world. So you had that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The technology exists, no word of a lie, to have vehicles that'll go at least 1 million miles with virtually no maintenance and 400 miles to the gallon. The technology, I can do that in my garage right now.
400 miles to the gallon?
Yep. Yep. And this has been done by not only can I do it, it's been done by the engineers of Shell, for example. I have in my files, Shell engineers used to have a competition every year as to who could get the highest mileage. Okay, they stopped doing that after this. Okay, and these 3 engineers made a car, and it had to fit certain specifications. It had to be the weight of a car that would be driving on the road with the safety features and all that of a regular car and kind of thing. They had to make a car to get the best mileage they could. This car got over 400 miles to the gallon. They won the competition, but then Shell shut down the competition. Amazing. They didn't do that anymore.
Wow. Ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous. And so what about from the health side? Are you getting any pushback with all the testimonials that you're getting and all the benefits?
It's possible that I am now. I have heard that the government is now investigating my business. Seriously, investigating my business. Calling customers, visiting customers' homes.
Oh, you're kidding.
I am not joking.
Oh my goodness.
There's one doctor, for example, whose husband happened to be a lawyer. So she cleared this hurdle fairly well. But she had bought 5 machines to use in her clinic, and the IRS government showed up on it happened to be IRS agents, but the government showed up on her door with this long list of questions for her about these machines that she had bought. And no advance warning or anything, just showed up.
Wow. Wow. So everybody, I think, should get their machines now, just in case something happens. Go and get them. Wow.
Yes. They don't do anything with the people or the machines or anything like that. They're just trying to find evidence of fraud. And that's one of the reasons why the 7 government investigations from back in my fuel saver days never went anywhere, because they couldn't find even one customer that would complain.
Right.
They needed at least one person to make a lawsuit.
There's a testimonial for that. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So you're wearing this right now. So there's the ways. So for our health benefits, there's the inhalation method, and then there's drinking the water, right? And then you can, okay, so you go ahead.
Yes, there's 4 protocols. I call 4 protocols. You can inhale the gas. You can put the gas externally on yourself, like with a bagging of a limb or a cupping or those kind of things. And you can drink the water, or you can put the water on yourself, the bubbled water. So I call those the 4 protocols. And the 2 protocols where you're ingesting or inhaling, your body decides what gets healed. Okay. Right. So you may have psoriasis and you're inhaling, but the psoriasis doesn't go away. But something else is happening internally in yourself. Your body has the intelligence to heal itself, and it has its own priority system. So I can never tell what's going to happen with any particular person. All I can say is it works, and people start to notice things. So, but when you apply externally, you decide where the healing happens. So if you had arthritis in your hands, which that was one of the things, I love having my full functionality of my hands again. With this finger here has a click, but other than that, full strength, zero pain anywhere in my body. I have zero pain. I thought when I was in my 50s and late 50s that pain was just something I was going to have to live with for the rest of my life. But I can tell you, it is so glorious not only to not ever get sick. I may get a runny nose or a tickle in my throat or something for a couple of days, but that's it. And no pain. Between those 2 things, it is absolutely just those 2 things alone I'd be stuck on this gas.
The living with it, I couldn't imagine living in chronic pain and not having full capacity of your body. So that is huge, absolutely huge. Can you just stick the tube in a room and just breathe it in ambiently, or you have to have it this way, the cannula or whatever you call that?
That's a really good question. You have to have it with the cannulas. And I prefer the cannulas over a mask because a mask tends to concentrate your exhaled breath along with whatever is happening going into it. So you can end up getting too high of a mixture again when you're inhaling again.
Okay.
So if you have a mask, you have to cut down the amount of hydrogen you're inhaling even more. You end up with the same amount of hydrogen being inhaled, but with the cannula, it goes right up into the nose. So when you're inhaling in your nose, you're inhaling the gas right up into you, because hydrogen has the highest diffusion rate of any gas in the world. It's the smallest molecule. So it diffuses in air the fastest rate of any gas. So when I was, for example, trying to ignite a water torch, so I have 1,600 liters per hour coming out of this thing, a lot of gas coming out. If my igniter wasn't within a quarter inch of the gas coming out, it wouldn't ignite the gas.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Now, interestingly enough, the gas coming out of my exhaled breath, if I am exhaling a combustible mixture, can ignite out a little bit further, 3 or 4 inches. I'm not sure why that is, but it can. And so there have been several people. Sometimes I'm not the only idiot in the world. They are smoking while they're inhaling brown gas.
Oh, come on.
I am not joking.
Oh, what?
And they had the balls to tell me.
Oh my God. I can't even. Wow. Okay. Well, that on several levels, that's just odd. Oh my goodness. Can you rig the machine so that 2 people can breathe? Like, what if you want to breathe it overnight while you're sleeping? Can 2 people do that at once?
Yes. You can put a splitter and 2 people can inhale, not more than 2, but 2 people can inhale, because generally speaking, people's inhalation rates don't match. They're not doing the same all the time. Okay. So what's happening is when you're inhaling, you're making a bit of a vacuum. When you're exhaling, you're making a bit of a pressure. So as the gas is coming to the T that then goes out to the 2 people, again, fluids will always flow to the path of least resistance. So when that person is inhaling and that person is exhaling, the gas goes that way.
Okay.
When that person is inhaling and that person is exhaling, the gas goes that way. So it goes back and forth. I'm only getting gas into me about 1/3 of the time, because 1/3 of the time I'm exhaling, and then there's a pause, and then 1/3 of the time I'm inhaling. So or you could say 50-50, but it's less than 50-50. So it can go back and forth between people. Now, at some point, they may be inhaling and exhaling at the same rate, but that's going to change fairly quickly. And so, yes,
Okay.
2 people can do it.
Sense. And the water that so when you're using it in the machine for the electrolysis portion, you have to use distilled water, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Because impurities in the water don't do well with electrolysis. First of all, you get minerals that'll plate out on the electrodes or make sludge in the machine. If your water happens to have things like chlorine in it, it'll make chlorine gas coming out with the gas. You don't want any impurities in the water that's going into the machine. And quite frankly, since 2001, I have been drinking distilled water myself. Now, since 2005, I was putting Brown's gas in the distilled water, but I don't like all the impurities that are in the water. And even reverse osmosis doesn't take out things like oils, pesticides, herbicides, hormones, drugs, viruses, a bunch of things that happen to be in water. The reverse osmosis doesn't take out, but even microplastics, which is becoming a thing these days.
Yeah.
This distillation destroys those things. So when you're drinking distilled water, you're pretty much getting your purest water, which brings me to another thing. It's an accessory we don't have yet, but I'm just going to put it out there really quickly. It's called, there's a product out there called deuterium deleted water, DDW. I don't know if you heard of it or not.
Deuterium depleted water, isn't it? Deuterium
Depleted water. That's right.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. And it turns out that when you take the water from a Brown's gas flame, because you're burning hydrogen and oxygen, the exhaust becomes water. It's a steam at first, so you condense the steam and now you have water. That is deuterium deleted water. Okay? It's not just depleted. The tests that we're showing have zero deuterium.
Oh, okay.
Immeasurable amounts of deuterium, even at compared against samples of 5 parts per million deuterium in the water, there's zero. They can't measure it. Okay,
so can you share with people why that's important and why they don't want deuterium in their water? Otherwise,
that's a good point. Water, right? Okay, first of all, what is deuterium? Deuterium is water. Okay, it's heavy water. It's got an extra neutron in the molecule. So normal water, light water, has a proton and an electron, and that's it. But about 1 in 5,000 parts in ordinary water has a extra neutron, so it's called heavy water. And heavy water traditionally has been used to help control nuclear reactions because it'll help dampen the nuclear reaction. It does the same thing in your body. It dampens your metabolism. So if you get too much deuterium in your body, you need some. But if you get too much, it starts to dampen your metabolism. And then things just don't work the way they're supposed to. So your body does get rid of excess deuterium on an ongoing basis, but relatively slowly. So what the water you drink and the food you eat, if it has more deuterium than you're getting rid of, your deuterium levels rise and your metabolism goes down. So what you want to do is start drinking water and eating foods that have less deuterium in them so that your body's getting rid of more water or this heavy water deuterium than you're intaking, and then your deuterium levels will come down and your metabolism will pick up. So that's why you want, that's in a nutshell, why you want to have lower deuterium in your water. So deuterium deleted water, like I'm talking about here, would be worth about $300 a bottle for about 250 milliliters. So,
whoa, yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you're eventually going to come out with that.
Yes, hopefully this year. We're already making deuterium deleted water, and we're sending out to the labs and stuff. But the scientific apparatus that we use, again, we want something that people will want in their home.
Right. Interesting. And so also so how much water should you be drinking a day of this? And second of all, what if you just bubble it through spring water, like good quality spring water, rather than just like, I'm more of a spring water drinker. I used to drink distilled water a long time ago, but can you just bubble it through the spring water? Like not the electrolysis portion, but the water that you're drinking?
People can drink whatever they feel is most healthful for them. I'm not going to make any judgments anyway. And yes, if you bubble the Brown's gas in mineralized water, or it will still infuse the water with the Brown's gas. And if those minerals are good for you, your body will be getting those in. Sometimes you get too much of the minerals if you're drinking the same water all the time, and it's highly mineralized, and that'll cause imbalances elsewhere. Generally speaking, I say get your minerals from your food. I eat as much organic as I can and that kind of thing. There isn't, because your food has gone generally through a plant or an animal. And in the metabolic process of that happening, it makes the minerals more bioavailable.
Yeah.
Now, there are minerals like salt, for example, sodium chloride, that are immediately bioavailable to our body. But iron, for example, you can't get iron by sucking on nails or eating rocks that have iron in it. You get it from kelp or seaweed or some sort of a plant. You get your bioavailable iron. So you just watch your nutrition and these kind of things. They should have classes in school about proper nutrition.
Oh,
but unfortunately, probably goes you like a lot of these other things where they teach the wrong thing. And All
That's
right,
a
that's
whole
a whole
other
other.
thing. That's a whole other thing. So could you just drink the Brown's gas water all day, or do you just recommend a certain amount? Could you breathe it all day? Is there a limit?
The
Are
more
there dangers to anything? Is there contraindications, anything like that?
there's no danger as far as the Brown's gas water as opposed to regular water. So just however much regular water your body size is and metabolism and the temperature, like if you're out sweating in the sun or working or something, you drink more water. What do they say? Eight glasses a day, 4 glasses.
That's
I
like the
forget.
average recommendation. Yeah.
Something like that. You just whatever is working for you. Now, I will say that when you're inhaling the Brown's gas, you have to really be careful to consciously drink more water
Oh,
because you won't feel thirsty. I've had times when my lips had started to crack. I was so dehydrated from regular the lubricant water, I was calling it, right? And I also noticed that other health things like my hair is better when I'm drinking lots of water. But when I'm inhaling the Brown's gas, I don't feel the need to drink water. I still need to drink
huh.
water, but I don't feel the need to drink water.
Interesting.
So
Huh?
it's really important that, for example, I drink a liter of water first thing in the morning, just the Brown's gas bubbled water, just chug it down. Just that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. And then I make another liter that I just drink during the day. So I drink a couple of liters a day.
Okay.
Liter quart, about the same size. So
Right.
and that's what, about four glasses of water, pints
Yeah.
a pound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I need at least that. And most people my size would. And it also helps brighten your mind and it also works better. That's another thing too, is that people ask me, is the inhalation better or is the drinking better? And scientifically, now, like I say, since 2007, there are now thousands of scientific studies showing hydrogen-rich water or inhalation, that sort of thing. It turns out some things are better done with the drinking. A lot of things are better done with the inhalation. But when you combine the two, you get better results than either one alone.
Oh, you do. Okay.
So you need to do both. You need to inhale and drink the water.
Interesting. And the water, I would think, would deplete very, very quickly of the Brown's gas. So how long can you store it at all? Or do you just have
Yeah,
to, and
no.
are you doing it in a glass, or do you want to keep it in a sealed bottle and just keep opening it every time you drink it? What's the best way to do that?
Well, that's pretty much what you need to do, is you need to have it in a sealed container and you can drink it most of the day. If it's in a sealed container, its half-life is essentially 1 day. So in
Mm,
1 day at room temperature, you've lost half of the hydrogen, even in a sealed container,
right.
because the hydrogen molecule is so small, it will go
Oh,
right through the walls of glass or plastic or iron, or it
it'll go
doesn't
right
matter.
through glass.
It'll
Oh,
go
wow.
right through glass,
Right.
right through it. Your hydrogen will disappear. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. And I want to go
So
back when you're talking about deuterium, because you said it's just bugging me because you said water has an electron and a proton, but you meant to say hydrogen, right? You meant to say like the hydrogen it's like D2O is heavy water, right? So I just wanted to clarify that in case people are wondering what that meant, because I just wanted to, it's just
you are
bugging me at the back
correct.
of my mind.
You
Right.
are correct. I
Yeah.
should have
Okay.
said hydrogen molecule.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
two
Okay.
hydrogens and one oxygen in water. And if you get, but the hydrogen molecule itself, and thank you for that shows your education coming back. You're picking up all those
A little bit. I
words.
still have a little bit back there in the research in my mind.
So anyway, the hydrogen molecule,
Yes.
not molecule, atom.
Yeah.
The hydrogen atom has one electron and one proton. And when the hydrogen atom has an additional neutron, well, then it's a heavy hydrogen atom
Right.
called deuterium, or D.
D.
And you can
Yes.
get heavy medium water, which is one D and one H and then an O. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if you replace the H with a D, it's still hydrogen,
Right.
but it's heavy hydrogen, so they call
Right.
it deuterium. And then you
Okay.
can get the water that's full deuterium water, which is 2DO.
Yes. Yeah.
Get a 2HO,
H2O.
2DO.
Right.
So
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
that was a good catch.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay, good. Okay. And are there anything like what did best applications? Like I know we're wrapping up. We're going to finish up here soon, but like, what are some of the more obvious or more frequent bits of feedback that you get on using the machine? Health-wise, health aspects. Is there some really more frequent bits of feedback?
There's dramatic ones. I can't say there's more of one thing over another because it kind of depends on what people are using it for, and they're using it for virtually every ailment known to man. People say, what can it be used for? And I simply just fill in the blank because it seems
Okay.
that it's virtually every ailment is either I'm discovering is either caused by or exacerbated by lack of hydrogen. Again, we're 62% hydrogen. Hydrogen is involved in virtually every chemical process in our body, one way or another. So if you're lacking in hydrogen, you're going to have issues, and it comes out as these various diseases or ailments. And it seems to be almost every ailment known to man. So
Wow.
very dramatic tends to be Parkinson's. Okay.
Oh,
If people with Parkinson's, if they inhale for even a couple of hours, their tremors go
wow.
away. Okay. So that's a dramatic one, like the carpal tunnel syndrome. When they carpal tunnel is very painful. I feel for anybody that has it. And you just put a bag on your arm, and in 10 minutes it's gone. My sister-in-law worked at a job where she got carpal tunnel fairly often, and it stays gone, by the way. So only once or twice a year she would come to the house and get her treatment to get rid of the carpal tunnel, and then she'd be fine.
Wow.
So cancer, we've had a lot of people mitigate cancer. Some really dramatic testimonials. But again, it's your body healing itself, your body's intelligence. And if you're too far gone, you just don't have the time, because this is nutrition. It's not a drug or a procedure. It's nutrition. Your body has to heal itself, which means it has to get back into that upward spiral. And if you don't have time, then but it's worth trying. I got a
100%.
1 year satisfaction guarantee.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. I heard that there's chiropractors actually using it to they put the Brown's gas on the areas that they've adjusted afterwards. Like somebody I know here who has one, he says they're using them as part of their adjustment protocol.
Yes. There was one chiropractor who had never been able to adjust his wife. And which was aggravating to them both, probably. But once he put the Brown's gas on and relaxed whatever it was that was very stiff, she got adjusted.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, this has been really amazing. So if somebody wants a machine, how do they get it? Where do they go? They go to aquacure.life. Is there, because I think you're also do you have distributors in different places as well, or do they go straight to here? What's the best way?
No, I was trying to set up a thing like that, and we have quite a few affiliates. But everything is purchased off the AquaCure.life
Okay.
website.
Okay. Okay, good. And I want to be one of those affiliates. We'll see. Okay, aquacure.life. And where do they find more about you? Where are all the places that people can find you and learn from you?
You can go to my YouTube channel. And you see a lot of different videos about the various things that I've been doing, and you'll see my pictures right from when I was fuel savers back in my 20s up till now. And you can go to the aquacure.life, and it'll have a my story page where you can learn kind of a lot some of the things that we were talking about today. And then if you want to see my website, because we took everything AquaCure and we kind of moved it out into aquacure.life, because my eagle-research.com, eagle like the bird, hyphen research, and it's not spelled out hyphen, it's a dash mark, research.com.
Yeah.
That's all the different inventions that I've been doing over the years. So 5,000 pages of website, things tend to get lost.
Wow.
When you're
Okay.
researching in there.
Yeah.
So we broke out the AquaCure stuff so that people could just focus on that over here. But if you go to eagle-research.com, you'll see more about what my life was before. And unfortunately, my original website disappeared from the internet, and I had to just quickly rebuild it. And now we're doing a full rebuild. And it won't have all my original e-newsletters and all that kind of thing, where you could see the progress of those investigations that I was talking about and stuff. It'll be a much more modern website. What's kind of going on now.
Right. Okay. And your YouTube channel name is?
That's a good question. Just search on YouTube for George Wiseman.
Okay.
It'll pop up.
Okay. I'll find it and I'll put the link into there as well.
I think it's Eco Pegasus 1984 or something.
Oh, okay. So it's not something really, okay. Well, I'll get the link up and I'll put that in there. Okay, well, I think I have most of I know I could go all day learning about this stuff. And is there a way you can wreck the machine using non-distilled water? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, that would take it out of warranty for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you get all that excess sludge, and you get the electrodes that would be bad. It'd have to be pretty much a total rebuild of the machine.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing that people don't do properly usually is the tower cap on the top. You have to make sure the threads underneath it are sealed really well. And we show how to do it. But if you start seeing any white powder forming under the machine, that means you have a leak. And that leak can go right down into the machine, and that white powder is lye. And if the lye gets into the machine, it can pretty much destroy the electronics. Ooh. So you don't want to have a tower cap base leak.
Don't want to have a tower cap base leak. Okay. And that's another thing. We need lye or sodium hydroxide for the electrolysis to actually be able to occur, right? So we buy that separately. Is that something somebody buys separately? Or does that
I can't guarantee it comes with the machine. We do try, but there's various courier companies that don't allow it on their airplanes. There's government borders that don't allow a white powder to cross the border.
Okay.
Mexico is especially bad for that. They want their white powder to only go north. They don't want any white powders to go south.
Right. Very controlled flow of the white powder. Okay. Well, I think that was really great. I really loved talking to you today. I really appreciate your time. I think you guys share this information. This could be a household appliance, right? It could be something that's in everybody's household. I'm sure you could use it even for first aid measures. You could use it with your children if they're not feeling well. Everybody fill up on the Brown's gas water. Like, I literally felt the water in a day. Maybe that was a fluke. I don't know, but it was very noticeable in one day, which was really ridiculous. So I can't wait to experiment with it more. So share this around. I know somebody needs this information, and George is out there to help you. This is what he's doing it for. He's here to help. So guys, share this around. And George, I really appreciate your time today. This is a really great conversation, and I love learning from all the things that you have to share this world. So thank you so much.
You are a great interviewer. Good job.
Oh, thank you very much.
And people can ask questions to you so that you acquire some questions to ask should you have me on again. But they can also ask questions directly from the contact us on the websites as well.
Amazing. Would love that. I would love to have you on again. Okay, you hold on. Okay, everyone, thanks for joining me. Hope you love this interview just as much as I did.